Hi, I'm Paula Harvey from Tejon Ranch Conservancy, and today we're going to do Lesson 3, Part 1, which is called My Secret Plant. You're going to need your journal and a pencil and an eraser and some colored pencils as well. And let's get started, shall we? We'll start by sharing the screen. And starting from the beginning, here it is, My Secret Plant, Part 1. So here's what we're going to do today. We are going to study photographs of 6 different secret plants. While you're looking at those plants, you're going to select one of them that you will do a complete journal entry on. So remember, a complete journal includes the metadata, which is the heading, and the heading includes the date, the day, the time, the weather, your location, and any other interesting and important information that'll help you to remember the event and where you are. And then you're going to choose that plant, do your ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and draw a picture or a diagram. Remember, if you do a diagram, you're going to label that diagram. Now, you want to do a really good journal entry because the next step is to share your journal. You'll either share it with a classmate or you're going to share it with somebody who is nearby, someone at home perhaps, and you want to tell them to study the entire journal page, not just the drawing, but also the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. And then they are to look at a picture of all 6 plants and decide which one was the one you did your journal entry on. You'll know if you were successful if the person is able to identify that particular plant. Okay, now it's really important in this particular lesson, don't do the reflection yet because the reflection is going to be part 2 of this lesson. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to observe 6 slides with pictures of these 6 different plants. While you're observing it, you're going to do self-talk. You're going to talk about what you notice, what you wonder, the questions that you have, and those connections. This reminds me of, and you're going to do it several times for each of those slides. You're only going to be given 30 seconds for each of the slides. So this whole observation exercise is going to take just 3 minutes. You want to talk fast and talk a lot. I want to remind you that the reason we say this stuff aloud is so that you can hear what you're thinking, and that helps you to remember. All right, while you're doing this, keep in mind you're going to select one of those plants to do your study on. Okay, so here we go. Here's plant number 1. Let me model for you how you do this. So you would say something like, well, I notice this plant has kind of roundish leaves. Actually, I notice there seems to be 3 lobes on it. I wonder why the middle plant is a different color from the ones on either side. Could it be that those are new leaves compared to the other ones, which are older leaves? I notice that there seem to be tendrils on this plant, and it looks kind of like this plant is a vine. This plant reminds me a lot of a grape plant or an ivy plant. Okay, so that's my self-talk. Now I want you to do it. So I'm setting my phone up right now, and here's the time on it. Go ahead and start self-talking plant number 1. Okay, that's 30 seconds. Here's plant number 2. and plant number 3. Plant number 4. Plant number 5. And here's the last plant, plant number 6. Okay, that's our 30-second study for each of these slides. So now it's time for you to journal. So what you're going to do is I'm going to take you to the next slide, and it's going to have one picture for each of those 6 plants. Choose one of those and do all of your journaling. ABC, I notice, I wonder, this reminds me of. 1, 2, 3, the metrics. It's going to be difficult to do metrics here. So remember, you could look and see what the leaf structure is. Is it opposite leaves or alternating leaves or swirled leaves? And any of those other kinds of things that you might be able to identify. But keep in mind that you did the metadata, the heading in your journal, and that has some of those 1, 2, 3s. And then do a sketch or a drawing or a diagram. And if you do a diagram, remember to label things like the branches, the leaves, the flowers, whatever, the fruit. Okay? And don't do the reflection. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next page. Here it is. And don't write down the number. That's for the person who looks at your journal and says, oh, you're journaling about number 3, for example. So right now you're going to pick one of these to journal. And I want you to pause the video so that you can take as much time as you need to do the journaling, and then you can move on. And what I'll do is minimize me so you don't see much of me. And go ahead and pause the video and do a full journal page without the reflection. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you pause the journal, pause the video, and you did a full journal entry. And so now you're going to test whether or not you were successful in doing everything you needed to do to identify that plant. You're going to share your journal with someone. Now, in some cases, your teacher is going to pair you up with someone, perhaps put you in a Zoom room where you guys can share each other's journals and figure out what you were journaling. If that's not the case, look around at home and see who's there and ask them to look at your journal and see if they can do that. And again, if that's the case, when I go back to the plants, go ahead and pause it again. I'll remove my face. Pause it again so that you can share that journal with someone. Okay, now start thinking about, were you successful? What do you think made you successful? What were the strengths of your journal entry? What kinds of things would you like to work on next time when you're doing your journal entry? And in the next video, the next class meeting, we will do the reflection where you can actually address those things. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me.